Welcome to Club Calculations. We got the Thought Brothers, and they in the virtual club calculations. Tonight is comedy night. Everybody is going to talk about their top 10 all-time comedians. I'm going to get in on it and put my top 10 in. We have an expert. We've got a comedy expert, Nicky Sunshine. She's here, and if anybody gets out of line, whatever Nicky says, that's the rule.
Don't put that on me, Gary.
All right, Nicky, you got 30 seconds to tell us who you are before we kick out everybody's list. Talk to us. We'll give you more than 30 seconds.
I'm a stand-up comedian. I know a lot of comedians. I am an advocate for comedians. I'm a club owner. So I own Comedy in Harlem, one of the only Black-owned comedy clubs in the country. And I'm married to a comedian. So I love to laugh, and funny is my business.
Okay. I asked you a question earlier before we started recording, and I want to throw it out here again because I loved your answer. Even if your answer still may even change. What is the difference between a funny comedian and a legendary comedian?
Yes. So I think what sets a legendary comedian apart from a funny comedian is when you really do something that nobody else has done. When you have done something exceptional. And I use Flip Wilson as an example, in that Flip Wilson doesn't get enough credit for really being a forerunner and a front runner for a lot of these folks that are running around in dresses now making billions of dollars. Tyler Perry and his billion-dollar empire with Medea, he can credit Flip Wilson for his success. And Flip Wilson to have a show of the magnitude that he had, because Flip Wilson was doing numbers and ratings were phenomenal back during his time. And for a Black person to have that viewership, and not just amongst Blacks, white people loved it too. I mean, and really, I believe the Geraldine character, I mean, it was so popular. I believe they even had a Geraldine doll. So this was at one point, you know, Flip was at the center of pop status, really pop royalty in US media with the Flip Wilson show, and truly a legendary performer. I don't know if you have heard of, there's a podcast. It's called Funny My Way. It's actually, you can listen to it on audiobooks, and it's narrated by JB Smoove, and it talks about the rise of Flip Wilson and how hard he worked, and the incredible poverty that he experienced as a young person, and just how much he wanted the success. It's a really, really interesting listen. So I recommend it. Funny My Way, narrated by JB Smoove. You can download it on Audible.
Okay. The other thing about Flip Wilson is he was one of the first, if not the first, to own his TV show production company through Clero Productions.
That's incredible. That's legend. That's another reason why he's legendary.
Yeah.
And I think, and Gary, I think that may also be another reason why he doesn't get the flowers that he should get, the accolade, because nobody is really talking about Flip Wilson like they should, because that's incredible what you just said.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through everybody's top 10 list. I'm going to start with my list. I'm going to share my list, and I'll be ready to defend it. So if you can see this, I'm going to put my list out there. And here we go. Number 1, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, Robin Harris, Bernie Mac, who you with? Cat Williams, Wanda Sykes, and Dick Gregory. Now, my honorable mentions, Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias. I love Sebastian Maniscalco. Legendary comedian from the Dean Martin comedy roast, Foster Brooks, who played the drunk. George Lopez. And you know what? I just thought of another one that I would put on there. Wow, this is tough. Paul Mooney. I put Paul Mooney on there.
Yeah, Paul Mooney.
Paul Mooney. All right, so you want to take issue with me? Or you want me to just put yours up there? We can do something. What you gonna do? What we gonna do?
Gary, let me throw something out there, man.
Okay.
And for the team. Hey, you think about your top 10 comedians. You got to think about people who influence you throughout your life. So some of these comedians you may have named, well, some of them you did name, would not necessarily be as well known to CJ or myself. So I think that carries weight with it as well. We're not saying they're not great. We're not saying they're not legendary. But if you don't have as much knowledge or haven't seen their work or body of work as much, you may tend to argue for your comedian more. So that's my input on your list. But I think it's a great list.
All right. So let's anybody else? Because we'll get them all out there and then we can just drag it out, and we can just take some notes, because the next person on the list is I think we got Mr. Spivey. Let's see who's next. Through your list, go ahead.
Okay, I have Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac, Red Fox, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Cedric the Entertainer, Wanda Sykes, some more, and Leslie Jones. So now I would like to take Cedric the Entertainer off of my list, and I would like to put Paul Mooney on there. And I would also like to take some more off the list and probably add Chris Tucker.
Chris
I'm going to take some more off and keep Leslie Jones on.
Yeah, I like Leslie Jones.
Leslie Jones isn't funnier than some more.
You don't think so?
Hell no. Some more, she's one of the top touring female comedians in the world. She has her fan base. Every year, she comes out with another hour of comedy, brand new material. And she's a technician. Like when she's doing her jokes, she writes out her jokes, and it's nothing. The way she puts her formats her hour and how she entertains her fans is incredible. Now, Leslie Jones, she stand up, can't touch some more. She did have her run on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, she did.
Is what it is, which is, sketch comedy and so on and so forth. I would argue that her characters were kind of a one note, that the range of the characters that she played, it wasn't necessarily like what Eddie Murphy could do. And certainly I don't want to compare her to Eddie Murphy, but I'm just showing or trying to demonstrate that some more is superior to Leslie Jones, and some more look better too. Because when some more steps on stage, some more from head to toe is fly. Her hair's done, her makeup's done. She look good. She's got her outfits tailored. Leslie Jones come up there sweating with a handkerchief, all crazy, yelling and whatever. I'm just telling you,
Nikki,
I'll leave my girl.
Nikki, I had her on my list, so I'll leave her alone. I put her on the list because I knew she was a good comic, and she was also had her stuff together. And I took Cedric the Entertainer off because he is not one of my favorite people. And that's why I replaced him with Paul Mooney. So I will leave some more on there. I won't bother some more. I'll take Leslie Jones off and put Chris Tucker on. How about that?
Man,
Does
Chris
that
Tucker.
meet your approval?
Does that mean I get a point? Because
You got a point.
Miss Nicky is
I
happy.
persuaded Bill,
Yeah.
that crazy woman off. No, I shouldn't call her crazy. To get Leslie to keep some more on.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, this is why we gonna have to see what's next. So here we go. Oh man. CJ, let me see. CJ. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so
CJ.
I must have misunderstood the parameters of this because I wasn't thinking greatest of all time. So before you slander me and drag me around here for this list, this is not a greatest of all time list of people. I would have had people like Cedric the Entertainer, Eddie Griffin and other people on this list. This is like favorites of, comedians that I consume a lot. So especially towards the end, I didn't even put on my honorable mentions like Kev on Stage, like more new media people, more of like modern comedians that I've consumed via like their content and not like via like legacy stuff like their, stand-ups and stuff, and wanted to just balance the list with, names from different eras. For me, Dave Chappelle, from my age range, is going to be number one. I grew up during like the prime Chappelle show kind of era and things like that. But Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, Cat Williams, another big, kind of from my generation. Any of the kings of comedy could be on there. I like political commentary, so that's where George Carlin and Bill Burr come in. Watched a lot of Sanford and Son, Red Fox, and things like that. So my list has like a more balance. This is not who I feel is the best comedians of all time, just like who I enjoy right now.
Okay.
CJ
All
didn't
right.
want that smoke. That's why CJ put so many disclaimers out there about his list. He didn't want that smoke. That's okay. You don't have to. It's all right. And nobody coming for you. He's like, hold on. I put this on my list. It's not best all time. It's just people that I like right now. And But we're not coming. I'm not coming for you, CJ. I think it's a good list.
CJ,
I'm
you
not a
ain't
comedy
scared
guy.
of
I'm a
her.
music guy.
CJ, because of the different generations, the last two on your list, I had to look up. And once I looked them up, I said, okay, I saw I recognized their faces.
Yeah, I wanted to mix it in and put some of the modern people who are kind of like more more recent, kind of like most of their
Never heard
content
of
comes through social media. Like I said, I also like Kev on Stage too. He does a lot of clean comedy and like kind of church related stuff, but he's very, very funny. And people I follow on like TikTok and Instagram who have really, really funny content that I consume on the daily. Like Tony Baker does these really funny voiceover videos and things like that of animal voiceovers and things like that. So like they're really funny, but not in the traditional sense of, some of the classics where you know them from TV or like you're talking about like Saturday Night Live and stand-ups and stuff like that.
Okay. That's fine.
With Ryan Davis, I know he produced his own comedy special.
Yeah, he just put out his
Did you
own one.
see it?
I did see it. It was pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, you gotta you can get it on his Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon. Okay. Yeah, I don't know him as well, but I know that he's one of the newer waves of comedians doing things, but I don't really know his work. Gary Owens, I guess
I didn't put that in there, by the way. Like
who put Gary Owens?
Yeah.
Okay, that may have been a typo on my part then.
Yeah, I'm about to say that ain't me. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I wouldn't have put him on there. I'm just saying that ain't nothing against Gary Owens, but I mean,
Okay,
Nicky,
that may have been a typo.
That's fake
Nicky,
news.
you know what's going on here.
Yeah, Gary Johnson Sr. is forging and making stuff up and putting it under
he tried to cover his son. That's what this is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who's next.
I'm left. Come on now.
All right. Here we go. Oh no, this is Nicky. Carlos, where's yours?
I don't know, man. You might have left me out. Do I have to speak through it? I can speak through mine. Let's see.
I must have left yours out.
All right. Well, I gotta go.
Wait. There was one. There was one that had Sam Kinison on it. Whose list is that?
No, that ain't my list.
That's Sherwin.
Oh, that's Sherwin's. Oh.
All right, so Carlos, I'm gonna have to correct this, but let's go.
You want me to run it down?
Yeah, let's run it down. Go ahead.
All right, guys, check this out. So my list, again, is based on when you really grew up and what you thought. So I'm gonna go backwards. Okay. Number 10, Rodney Dangerfield. Like in the 1980s, I was in high school and he was at No Respect and he was making all these crazy movies like Back to School and a few other ones. And he was just funny. I thought he was just an old guy who was funny and he was doing his thing. Red Fox, come on, Sanford and Son. I mean, look, maybe I never would see Red Fox perform in my life, but Sanford and Son was just funny. I mean, it was just extremely funny. Kevin Hart, coming in at 8 for me. Kevin's very funny. I don't think he's the funniest of all time, but he's very funny. Just his mannerisms, the things he does, things he says. I would say his timing on certain jokes is very good. Number 7, Robin Harris, man, Gone Too Soon. I mean, that guy from, what was that? The Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy movie, late 80s. Harlem Nights. We talked about I think the first 2 Kid and Play movies where he was the father of Kid.
Yeah.
Funny, man. That's dude. Bebe's Kids. How about Bebe's Kids? That I bought that cassette back in the day. Very funny. Number 6, Bernie Mac. Still Gone Too Soon, but I'm glad we got a chance to see the majority of his work for 30 plus years until he died in the 2000s sometimes. And then number 5, Martin Lawrence. Got to represent the DMV with my man Martin Lawrence. I mean, funny. He literally is talking stuff. Dave Chappelle. I mean, Dave Chappelle with the Chappelle Show and his stand-up, shows has been just hilarious and talks about, to me, a lot of relevant things, sometimes in a weird way, but it's very funny. Chris Rock, my man Chris Rock. I think Chris Rock, his range from playing Pookie to being one of the world's top comics. Got to respect that. And he has a lot of political comments in his shows that I like, that the topics he weighs in on. And then just growing up, man, come on. Again, I'm a kid, I'm a teenager from 1980s. Eddie Murphy? If you don't have Eddie Murphy on your list, I mean, maybe you weren't alive in the 1980s. I mean, that's what I would say, because he just ruled in the 1980s. And even though his career still goes on today, he was at the peak in the 1980s. And then as a little kid in elementary school in the late 70s, my parents were like, you got to leave the room. We're going to put this Richard Pryor album on. Hey, look, Richard Pryor, to me, when you say comedy, is the standard for he to me, he is comedy. Like, if I can only see one person, I got to see Richard Pryor. And I actually saw him in, I think, 92. In 92, I think it was the first comedy show that was in a major arena that I went to. And he was, he had his illness going on, but he was still cracking jokes and getting a roaring applause with a quiet voice. And what was it? The honorable mention? Yeah, I had Gary Owen down, man. Gary Owen, to me, is one of those guys who's sort of funny, but it's sort of like a weird funny, because he'll say something and you think about it and be like, oh, that's funny. And then, he's just a quietly funny guy that makes you think about his jokes. But I think what's interesting about all of us so far, does being great, does being legendary, does being extremely popular translate into money? Because 2 of the highest paid comedians, probably, I would say one is definitely the highest paid comedian of all time. I'm talking about Jerry Seinfeld. That's not from our background. Maybe it's not, but with respect to Mr. Seinfeld, he's the richest comedian of all time. I think he's worth $900 million. And then we talk about probably the richest comedian the past year or 2, and probably still escalating, Steve Harvey. He's making money from Family Feud. He's making money from shows, from radio, TV, family. I mean, it just goes on and on. I hope he don't, host one of those Miss America or Miss Universe pageants again. I think he called the wrong person, but it's amazing. And when I pulled the list of the top highest paid comedians of all time, only one black man was on there, and that was Kevin Hart right now. So so maybe we can talk about that later in the show, but I'm just interested because who we like doesn't necessarily translate to the highest paid of all time, but much respect for all of them.
Okay. Nicky, you look like you want to weigh in. Come on.
Well, one of the things I sent you a picture, Gary, of a mural that we have outside of our club, because Red Fox is a recurring person on the list. And he's one of the figures that's in the mural outside our club. We had an artist. It took him 2 weeks by hand. He drew this mural of some of the greats, and it's a scene out of Harlem Nights, but so it has Red Fox, Eddie Murphy, Moms Mabley, and did I say everybody? Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Moms Mabley. But the
Okay.
interesting thing about Red Fox, because Red Fox seems to be on a lot of people's lists, we are on St. Nicholas Avenue, and there is a venue across the street from us that was mentioned in the autobiography of Malcolm X. I don't know if you know, but Red Fox and Malcolm X used to work at the same place together. They were waiters at a place called Jimmy's Chicken Shack in Harlem, and across the street, and it's now an Ethiopian restaurant, but it used to be Jimmy's Chicken Shack. And when we moved to that location, Red Fox was the last figure that we drew on the mural, and the owner of the Ethiopian restaurant was showing me that on her cocktail list, they have the Red Fox in honor of Red Fox working at this place. It's a little hard to see, but there's Red Fox on the right.
I'll get it in the final production of the show.
I think Carlos's. I thought the list was pretty good. Unfortunately we don't have it, so we could scrutinize it in list form, so we can really go over some things to really scrutinize his list. But I think he had quite a few legendary folks on there, and certainly
I'll fix that.
Eddie Murphy is a legend. Whether there with,
I saw Eddie in his prime, when Raw with the red leather suit. I mean, he was like a rock star.
And don't forget about Delirious.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember the Raw very well, because back during that time, my daughter, who was an only child, used to spend Saturday and Sunday in her room, and she would always win these 10th caller on the radio. I think she's probably one of the reasons that they put a limitation on you can only win once a month, because she would win sometime 2 or 3 times. But she won tickets to Raw at the convention center in DC. And needless to say, we were on the front row. And Eddie Murphy came out in a red leather suit.
That's it.
And he started off. And when he started off, and I don't want to say what he said, but I tried to go down in the seat nearly to the floor, because I'm sitting there with my daughter, and it just got worse from there. So Eddie Murphy and Raw is indelibly in my mind for the rest of my life. And she reminds me sometime of, do you remember we went to see Eddie Murphy? And I always tell her, I'm at an age now that I got early stages of dementia, and I can't remember that particular show. But Raw was just as the title says, it was very raw.
Okay. Well, Sherwin, come on, brother. Sherwin XL. Glad you can make it.
What up? Good evening, everybody.
We haven't gotten to your list. We're getting ready to get to Nicky's list, but just for the people, since you just joining us, give us a minute, just a thumbnail overview of who you are. We'll get to it later, but just let the readers, the viewers know who you are.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sherwin XL. I'm an actor, comedian, host, and independent casting director. Been in the game entertainment-wise for 30, stand-up comedy-wise 25 years. After the taking some a break off from music and doing R&B with one of Wyclif's cousins in an R&B group, I was a hip-hop aspect. I got into comedy off of a bet, and after that, I went ahead and took classes at Caroline's on Broadway. From Caroline's on Broadway, I asked some more, the comedian, like, what should I do? And she told me to go see this gentleman named Angelo Ellaby. At the time, he was working with DMX on Bloodline Records. And I did the one thing after taking the classes. He told me to go to Weiss Barron School of Acting. And after I graduated, I got bored and I said, what do I do now? So I said, I'm going to do the one thing that everybody's either scared the hell to do or excited to do, and that's go at the Apollo Theater, go and audition. So I did the audition, and then from there, did good. And a talent scout saw me and wanted me to work with a gentleman who was doing a hip hop boot camp, and it was Africa Bambaataa, Melly Mel, Curtis Blow, and Wanda D, the first female hip hop DJ. And she told me who the person was, and it was a hip hop boot camp. It was Joe Jackson, and at first I didn't believe it. I was like, "This lady lying." So I was just like, "Okay," and I actually went there. He was there, and then for there, I got locked into my mentor, Harris Hayth, who was the author of the book Growing Up Laughing with Eddie Murphy. And from there, it was, great work from there. I started winning awards on a Pop Pop Dirty Foots. It's a web comedy series. And then also we did a film together at the a film festival in Atlantic City, the Atlantic City Cinefest Film Festival. And we also won for a documentary about Roosevelt. So I also worked with his mentor, Bill McQuarrie, who was a two-time Emmy Award-winning anchorman and media icon. And I've met wonderful people like young lady right here,
All right.
Nicky, on my way. And I, after watching Robin Harris in his theater, I got a 5-year contract through a buddy of mine, OC, the comedian. Got a contract for 5 years, did a place called Janelle's, First Friday comedy series, and had a slew of great comedians like Nicky, Sunshine come through, and I'm still here doing what I do. And I've won a couple of awards, which I don't want to go into too much because I'm
Okay,
already,
all right. we gonna get to Nicky's list. We've
Yes.
been very I wouldn't say critical. We've been very forthcoming about people's lists.
Okay.
Mr. Spivey, he and Nicky had some, little thing with some more, but in Leslie Jones. But we got through that. Look, as Bernie Mac would say, we're all family here. We're all family here. So here we go.
Sherman probably knows Nicky's a bully. So he
He
probably
knows. He knows I get in his behind too.
Nicky's not a bully. She's not a bully. She's an inspirer.
I paid him to say that, Bill.
All right, so let's look.
I'll see you on the 3rd of May.
Okay, let's get to the next list here.
Okay.
This is Nicky's list. Go ahead, Nicky.
Okay, so I already want to move somebody off my list.
Oh wow.
Okay,
So
I want Joan Rivers moved off.
Mm-hmm.
She pissed me off with some political statements she made, and I'm gonna, dare I say, put Bill Cosby on number 7. I'm putting Bill Cosby on 7. So I've got Richard Pryor at 1, Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams. I have a personal story with Cat Williams. And I don't know, we probably won't have time to go into it, but at any rate, got a story with him. Some more, she is the queen. She is the queen. Wanda Sykes, she is up there and has really been a trailblazer and done some things. George Carlin, got to give credit. People are still watching his videos. Just the political commentary, and some of the things that and very unique style.
Yeah.
Because his style was, I don't even know how to classify it, because some of it was like monologues, but they were very lyrical and just very interesting. Joan Rivers, she was a trailblazer in her own right in terms of women, and she was very outspoken and unapologetic, and she worked very hard. I watched her documentary, but like I said, she pissed me off with some of the political statements that she made. So I don't even know if she's going to be on honorable mention, but I have to give credit where credit is due and put Bill Cosby on there. A legendary storyteller. Okay. Crack up a room and make people laugh without the curses, without the kind of blue material. And I mean, we can dare say the Cosby Show was a groundbreaking television program that launched the careers, many careers, not just Bill Cosby, but I mean, Lisa Bonet and Felicia Rashad and all of those folks. Um, and, you know, what he did with Fat Albert and
Hey,
J-
hey, hey.
Hey, Hey, Hey,
Hey,
and
hey, hey.
all of the money that he generated, the amount of money that he pumped into HBCUs, a lot of people gave the money back, but I mean, just he is a legendary comic. Mom's Bailey, we spoke about her already. Dick Gregory, very interesting and very special comic. His nephew is named Mark Gregory, who's very funny, who has a special coming out on Amazon. Performs all over the country, a funny brother. But Dick Gregory, I mean, just what he has done, and even his getting started in Chicago, performing at the Playboy Club, which is something that at the time I don't think any other black comic did, and also his political stances really till the day he died, and also his fasting, his diet, and bringing to the forefront really one of the forerunners of the whole health movement with his dietary choices. And Chris Rock, we talked about him, and you know, Pookie and all of that. And he's still, I Bigger and Blacker is one of, to me, I mean, an awesome comedy special. But it's interesting that we picked majority black comics. And people ask me sometimes, what's the difference between black comedy and white comedy? And it's a very interesting question that each one of us could answer in a different way. But what I liken it to is, what's the difference between white church and black church? You know, it's black people have a different way of expressing, a different spirituality, a different way that we feel, and a different way that we experience life in this country. So, you know, black comedy, urban comedy is definitely a lot different than white comedy, because black expression is unique to us. The way we dance, the way we sing, the way we tell our stories, it's from an Afrocentric perspective, and it's extremely different and extremely special. And you know, I had a friend from England, and she was white, and she lived in New York for a while, and she just didn't understand, why do all these comics, why do they always have to make it a black and white issue? Why do they always have to say white people do this and then black people do that? It's off-putting. I don't understand it. And I honestly couldn't at the time explain it to her. It's not to put her group of people down. It's just racism is so focal to our journey here in the United States that, I mean, white people come up, and the differences between the races is something that's so central to our existence in this country, but it's not necessarily anything to slight white people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
go ahead, Bill.
you know, Nikki, you brought up something. One of the things I think is the difference between white comics and black comics, and I'm talking going back because, you know, I lived through that Flip Wilson era, and a lot of the black comics, they talk from experience. Whereas a lot of white comics like George Carlin and people like that, they talk from politics and they talk from other things. I remember vividly Richard Pryor said one time, the longest walk that you make is to go get a switch
Bitch.
to whoop your own ass with. And I can remember vividly my mother saying, I told you not to do it. Now go get me a switch. And from Richard Pryor, I remember getting a knife and cutting a little notch in the switch so that when she hit me with it, it would break. these are the things that Black comics talk about. And earlier, Gary was asking you about legendary comics. And another thing came to mind. You know, when I think of comics, I think of comics who make an impression that you won't forget. You mentioned when you were talking about Flip Wilson. The first thing you talked about was Geraldine. When somebody talks about Robin Harris, the first thing they think about is Bebe's Kids.
Bebe's Kids.
When I think about Bernie Mac,
Yeah.
when I think about Bernie Mac, I think about milk and cookies. And when I think about Richard Pryor, I think about Miss Rudolph. So
Yeah, the monkey's foot.
for me, when I think about a legendary comic, it's a comic who has come up with something that you will always remember.
Wow. You know what? Now we talking about legendary. Now, Sherwin, I asked the brother to just come up with a top 10, man. He really did it. I mean, he came up. I ain't gonna even say anything. He was trying to get extra credit, man. So he didn't. Let's just get to his list. He done gave the teacher a nice apple and he done polished it up.
Oh no.
So let's go. Let's look at. Let's
Gary, don't set him up so we can tear him down.
Well,
Set him up right now.
It is what it is.
Fight, man. I'm ready to fight.
It is what it is. Let's go with Sherwin's list. All right. So Sherwin, go ahead and go through your list, and then we'll go because he has 3 lists. So let's go through the first one.
What I did was, due to the fact that I'm a 70s kid, my father was very big on sci-fi and stand-up comedy and TV shows. There's some people that I grew up on that I could not ever forget. And I couldn't just give one honorable mention. I had too many people to mention. But the reason why I chose Eddie over Richard, only reason why is because now he's still here. And just like it was just mentioned, he's somebody that his set, aside from Patrice O'Neal's Elephant in the Room, Eddie Murphy's Delirious and Sam Kinnison's Breaking the Rules are my favorite stand-up comedy sets. And Delirious and even Raw, you know, some people love Raw more, but he has all those memorable things, the ice cream, the goony goo goo, this is a piece of shit, you know, Gus, you know, like your wife's a Bigfoot, you know, and unforgettable stand-up comedy things. But the reason why I chose him mainly is because of his capability to adapt and go into places that like music with Rick James, being around Michael Jackson. And, you know, before Charlie Murphy started telling his Hollywood stories, you know, Eddie was around almost everybody. That's where Charlie was able to derive and get those unforgettable things that he was talking about.
What about when Eddie Murphy did that James Brown impression on stage with James Brown?
And then that's another thing. Saturday Night Live, he single-handedly saved Saturday Night Live because of him. And then also, to this day, the one thing that I love about Eddie is he worked with his peers, with Pryor and his brother. He worked with Red Fox, and he even had Robin Harris there and Arsenio Hall. And then he worked with Chris Rock, and he worked with his own brother. And then also he even worked with in the movie Dave, he had Kevin Hart there. And then in Norbit, he had, once again, his brother again, but he also had Cat Williams and Eddie Griffin there as well.
Sherwin.
So, yeah.
Well, not to cut you off, but just to illuminate your point with Eddie Murphy at number 1, that podcast or that Funny My Way that I had mentioned earlier talks about Richard Pryor, and Paul Mooney talks about Richard Pryor and his family too, that Richard Pryor kind of blocked Paul Mooney from getting opportunities. And it talked about, you know, the insecurity of Richard, him wanting to be the main one or the only one to shine and not really kind of passing the baton and giving his peers equal footing and things. And just to illuminate what Sherwin is saying about Eddie Murphy working with all these people and not afraid to share the spotlight. That's something that's different.
Yeah, even with your number one choice, like even Dave Chappelle too. You know, he's worked with, and then just recently in Coming to America too, he had Rodney Perry and Leslie Jones. So that just shows you he's one of those guys that, you know what, I'm going to give this person a shot, no matter what, it is. It's like he gives him a little shot, even with, and then look, Martin Lawrence and also Bernie Mac. So he's everywhere. He's like a chocolate Neo, you know, in the matrix of comedy to me. So that's why I chose him as number one.
That's a good good defense there. All right, let's go through your list because you got 3 of them. So let's go.
Okay. Growing up, Lucille Ball always had me dying laughing, and still to this day, you know, people still love Lucy.
That's not stand up.
He's like, huh?
That's not stand up.
If you look, I just said comedians. I didn't say stand up.
Oh,
she has done stand up with George Burns. You haven't checked that.
She did back in the day.
Back in the day,
she did do stand up, but before that, she did modeling. So yeah, she's done stand up, and so has Carl Burnett. So yeah, I chose Lucy only because that's kind of like what I grew up on, and of course, then Carl Burnett, Joan Rivers, and then the rest. But you know, Lucy is my number one because, you know, to this day, I even have a comedy buddy that Nicky Sunshine knows, testimony. Even to this day, she's like, sometimes she's going, wah! You know, so it's still locked in. It's still so locked in. That's why I chose Lucy to be my number one. And then you can see the rest. There was too many that I could not just mention. And then the thing that he was just talking about the extra credits, I went into comedy, like comedy duos, trios, and groups, and my favorite has always been Abbott and Costello. Those are my number one guys. I always love Costello because one of the main things that we've all seen from the old cartoons to even now is that like Warner Brothers and a couple other cartoons, they like to take the personality and put them in cartoons, and even in video games to this day. Like Jerry Lewis, for instance, you know, he did The Nutty Professor. Even Andrew Dice Clay emulated him a little. Like, what am I supposed to do, Dave? You know, so, and even The Simpsons has that character, and Jerry got that from a guy, if I'm not mistaken, he was on a train somewhere, and the guy's voice just stuck in his head, and he put it in this character and made it iconic. And then you know, I was happy for him to do that. But back to Abbott and Costello, I just always love Abbott and Costello. Even when I heard Biggie Smalls saying, "I'm a bad boy," I'm thinking, "I'm a boy." Always think about that. And they're also innovative because I forgot what movie it was, but there's a film that Abbott and Costello did where Costello's actually rapping, which blew my mind when I saw it. It's some army film, and he's actually kind of like rapping. So that's my list. So
yeah, you got the Marx Brothers, Jackie Gleason, Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
I remember Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, man.
Sherwin, the only one I'm gonna do a Nicky on you. That other list,
mm-hmm.
Don Rickles. Where did you get him from?
Hey, I'm kind of with Don Rickles too, man.
Oh. You made me laugh.
You know, I put Don Rickles. I never thought he was that funny. I put him in the same category as I do. I put him in the same category as D.L. Hughley. Every time I've seen him doing a comedy thing, he basically plays off of the audience.
D.L. Hughley was how can I call him? He was okay, kind of like Robin Harris would do the same thing, but not as venomous as he was. So he was like a Carnage to Robin Harris's Venom. He would mess with people because, you know, most people are afraid to sit in the front because they're thinking, oh, they're gonna pick on me. But one thing with DL, people used to be terrified of him because he would not only mess with the people in the front, he would mess with people in the middle. He would go to the back of the. Nobody was safe. So he was terrible. He was terrible. But I
never liked him. I mean, I don't even put him in the class with
me. That's
Richard Pryor or Bernie Mac or those guys. you know.
Mhm. Well, I had put Bernie and Robin. They were like cut from the same cloth because Bernie was actually supposed to go on tour with Robin before he passed on.
Yeah.
That's
They would,
And where did you find Dolomite? That-
Robin Harris, remember when the movie came out,
Whoa.
House Party, he introduced people. He like the signify monkeys,
That brings
he
back
brought it back.
memories, man.
Then of course,
Dolomite.
and then that's another reason why I brought up Eddie. Eddie did Dolomite. He
Yes,
brought
true.
Dolomite to the forefront. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
another thing about Eddie that I still love is the fact that he was when he got his Mark Twain or when he got an award, he was
Yeah.
impersonating Cosby again. He's like, "What I'd like to say is, who took my award? Who told on me?" And it was
Yeah.
like what's that guy Barris, whatever
Yeah.
his name was, and then also he just recently was on Saturday Night Live impersonating somebody who looked up to him, and that was Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan. Yeah.
Who was the first
He's
one to come up with
Eddie
Dolomite?
made me some Franks. I love Eddie. He made me some ballpark Franks. So,
Was it Rudy Raymore that came up with
Yeah.
Dolomite?
Yeah. Yeah. That was Rudy Ray Moore.
is the
Yeah.
Rudy Raymore.
Dolomite. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dolomite. Wow.
But you know
So,
what?
go ahead, Nick.
That's one heck of a list, Sherwin, but you made me think of something else when you started talking about D.L. Hughley and him getting on the audience. White comics don't do that. That's a black
Andrew
thing.
Dice Clay.
When-
Andrew Dice Clay would do that too.
I don't know, but we started it with doing the dozens and kind of roasting the
Yeah.
audience members and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I was in school.
We did it first.
Yep. Well, I don't think not too many. I think Andrew Dice Clay a little bit. Sam Kinison a little bit, and then what's her name? Lisa Lampanelli, which she was like
Oh,
to
Lisa.
me.
Yeah.
She was like a combination of Don Rickles and Rodney Dangerfield, where she would make fun of people but also make fun of herself.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked
Self-deprecating.
her balance. I liked her balance.
Yeah. Wow. Man, so we got a lot of good names in history that we pulled out, somebody else that I thought about that I don't think I heard his name, but in terms of sketch comedy, Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett show. Tim Conway and Harvey Korman.
Yeah.
Those two used to do. Now that's generational,
Hey, Gary,
But,
let me throw one out there, man.
Go ahead.
We talking about legendary, groundbreaking. Do we give Keenan Ivory Wayans any credit for In Living Color?
Who?
Well, of course, we have to. You can throw that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we did.
That's a good point.
Well, remember he helped Eddie Murphy write Raw.
That's
And
right.
you can see that all that stuff that
Yeah.
was in Living Color, like woo woo woo, what's in your pocket?
And-
What is this? What is this?
And there was a time on Sunday nights in Living Color and Martin, that was must-see TV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was must-see TV.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Numbers equivalent to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot about that. So we
Well,
bringing up a lot of good stuff.
Well, don't forget to give credit to Benny Hill for putting breasts on primetime TV.
Tracy Ullman show. and all that.
All right.
I think I threw Benny in there. I'm not too sure. I think I did because I was like that was always because my dad he loved Benny Hill and he also loved the Monty Python's Flying Circus. I didn't get it at first when I was a little kid, but then after watching it and watching Rowan and Martin's laughing and all this other stuff, and watching Mel Gibson's movies and parodies, it is funny. But what you were saying about your friend earlier from London, they don't get it because I don't think sometimes they don't experience the negative pressures of prejudice. Some of them they don't know what it is. They don't know that feel of when you get in that look because you're going up in the ladder and you're getting that dirty look even from your own. Sometimes they don't get that. Sometimes.
Hey,
Some of them
Sherwin, let me throw
Yes,
this
sir.
out there. Back in 2016, I did something that most people from where I'm from wouldn't do. I went to go see a Paul McCartney concert in DC. Okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
true.
And I said I wanted to see him just because he was a legend. I mean, he's in his 80s. He was 70. I think he said he was 74 that night in 2016. And make a long story short, he said he wrote a song called Blackbird I think, did Beyonce just remake that? But he said he wrote this song in the late 60s because of what him and his buddies or pals were seeing from across over in London about how we were going through the civil rights movement. And he said he just couldn't figure out why it was even going on. So they had a completely different perspective of civil rights and race, and prejudice is everywhere, bias is everywhere, but they do view it differently. So when Nicky says that her friend from London couldn't understand why everything was white and black, that made me think about Paul McCartney and his comment from back then. He said he was cool with Jimi Hendrix, he was cool with everybody. He did, and his buddies were too. He said he just didn't understand why it was what it was and why they were witnessing these atrocities on TV. So he wrote that song Blackbird.
Yeah, well, just to talk about, my favorite song for him is No More Lonely Nights. So that's not nothing too bad. I would have probably went to go see him too if he was around, if I was able to see him. But when it comes down to that, well, I know one person that he doesn't like that is of African diaspora, Michael Jackson, because he's the ghetto.
Yeah.
It ain't no more say.
They had that big legal battle. Yeah.
He's more like, I should have said less instead of say what I was gonna do.
Wow. Hey, look, given the time we have left, here's how I want to close out. I just want to go around and just have you all just share one takeaway as a result of this show, talking about all these comics. Sherwin, I'm gonna start with you, man. What's your one takeaway? We talked about all these comics. What's your one takeaway for the show?
Wonderful memories of laughter growing up, and still to this day, being able to see who I've never got to see in person, but still got to enjoy because of television or maybe even radio, and also who's here now and the people that are coming up, because there's some great comedians that I've met through my years in stand-up comedy, and I see some really, really great people. And one thing that I have to definitely say from George Carlin was, when it comes to this business and anything you do, when you see somebody doing what you do, you have to look at them in two ways: no threat, or if they're that good, up your game. That's it. And thank you for having me here. And like I said, the memories, man. Like Bob Hope said, thanks for the memories. And that's another thing. That's another thing that a lot of comedians have, is they connect with music as well too. Rapping Rodney and Eddie Murphy's Party All the Time. So one thing I'll take away here: great memories of great people from the past and the present and up and coming.
All right, thank you. Carlos, what's your takeaway?
Hey, very simply, now that I think about it, Eddie Murphy, I have seen movies like Beverly Hills Cop 2, where Chris Rock pulls up. He's the parking lot attendant at the Playboy Mansion, and Eddie Murphy pulls up in a dump truck, and Chris Rock's like, "Where am I park this at, man?" I mean, when you think about that, you think, man, Eddie has really contributed to a lot of other comedians' careers, and I think he really should be commended for that, because you're right, it's very easy to be selfish in a business where your paycheck and career depend on how good you are, but he helped other people rise to the top as well. So I'm taking away to Eddie Murphy, because of that. Makes me think about moving him to #1 over Richard Pryor on my list. Yeah.
Okay. All right. CJ, what's your takeaway?
My main takeaway is comedy is a connective force similar to music, as was stated before, and that it has a lot of, although it's subjective, there still was a lot of overlap on everybody's list. There was still some overlap of comics and things like that. And just how the cultural, as we talked about, is such a cultural difference between what is going to resonate from person to person. And it's similar. Like I said, I'm a music guy and do music, but I had a very similar conversation with my bandmates last week. I was actually in Harlem last week, talking, working with some white bands. I have an all black band, and that came up, the difference in experience and how you get treated as an all black band in the rock space, a space we started, by the way, but now we get treated like we're minorities and like I'm a unicorn in every space. But I do find that the black musicians that I hire and work with, they have a little bit better, I don't know how else to say it, better relationship with rhythm and drums and things like that. And I think that just comes from, as we were talking about, Mr. Spivey and other people brought up, there's just a cultural resonance that you're going to resonate with certain type of people that grew up with similar experiences, and that's going to tailor what art kind of resonates with you.
Okay. Mr. Spivey.
You know, I'm a lot like Carlos. I mean, I had Richard Pryor at the top of my list and Bernie Mac. But the more I think about and listening to everybody talk about Eddie Murphy, I probably would have to move him to the top of my list because Sherman brought up a excellent point about how Eddie worked with so many different people and coming to America and movies like that. But the one that I that is most memorable to me is Harlem Nights. Uh, you had Eddie Murphy, you had Richard Pryor, you had Robin, you had Della Reese, Red Fox, Arsenio Hall. And for me, if someone asked me about the number one African American movie, to me, Harlem Nights is hands down because it was some of the best comedians that came together
Oh my
that you
God.
will ever see.
Tommy too from Martin. Forgot about him. Can't forget Tommy. Tommy from Martin.
Oh yeah, Tommy from Martin, he was in there also. And so for me, and I saw a YouTube video that I came across a few weeks ago, and it really got my attention, but it was talking about all of the people that were in Harlem Nights. And I think out of 30 people or 35 people in Harlem Nights, all of them have been deceased. And you know, you sit back and you think about Della Reese and Red Fox and Richard Pryor, and the list just goes on. But Eddie Murphy, listening to everybody, I would have to move him to the top of my list and make Richard Pryor second and Bernie Mac third.
Okay. Let me go, and I'm gonna save Nicky for last. I had Richard Pryor number one and Eddie number two on my list. But if I'm being objective, based on what I've heard here, I kind of feel like Henry Fonda and 12 Angry Men changing my vote. But I'm gonna have to go with Eddie. I mean, I've seen both of them in their prime, but when you talk about helping others,
Yeah.
the list is long. And Red Fox, after Harlem Nights, got another opportunity to have a TV show. He
The
actually,
Royal Family.
right,
Yes.
he actually died on the set of that show.
Mm.
But Eddie Murphy produced that show,
And paid for his funeral.
paid for his funeral, because the IRS had taken everything from Red, even the jewelry and rings off his fingers when they came to his house. And so when you talk about just not only the art form, but the humanity, all right, I got to slide. I got to slide Eddie up to number one just for that alone. And so no, I mean, that's it. Nicky, close us out. What did you take away?
And I just sent you a picture, Gary, of me and the legendary Eddie Murphy. I was privileged enough to meet him on a trip in LA, and that is my takeaway. I echo Carlos, Bill, Gary, and credit Sherwin for really putting it into perspective just how special Eddie Murphy is. And we didn't even really talk about Richard Pryor's drug addiction. That was the main reason why his show did not succeed, was the drugs. Certainly we can't blame a man for addiction, but Eddie Murphy, I mean, and this is what we're saying is like groundbreaking, because in every circle everybody looks at Richard Pryor as like the godfather, like the roadmap of who did it, not taking away that he was a forerunner, but Eddie Murphy is extremely special for so many different reasons. And this talk really helped change my mind. And then with CJ, with you kind of connecting the art forms, comedy, music, and really Black expression, Black people and art and what we do is very, very, very unique. It's different, and our contribution can be felt in so many different ways, really, as setting the standard in each each category in art form. Black people don't want to say it. Black music is the music of America. We created it. We brought it. It's you know, they don't want to say it, but it is true. And Black expression in comedy, you know, and thank you, Sherwin, for all the different you know, the historical context of all those shows, Abbott and Costello and all of those
Yeah.
things. But if we were allowed back then to be in those spaces, I'm sure that we would have been very competitive. But
Yeah,
back then,
I didn't get to put them on there, but Amos and Andy was they were pretty. I know a lot of people
Wow.
didn't like it here
Yeah.
and there, but they were groundbreaking as well. And the one thing I forgot to say about Eddie is the one thing that he is always remembered for, aside from his stand up, is that his laugh alone. His laugh alone. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's Eddie Murphy laugh." Just his laugh alone. That, you know, not even saying anything, not even saying a set, not even saying a joke. You hear that? You know his laugh. That's one thing that once again, memory. You know.
Man.
Yeah.
You know what, Sherwin? Sherwin,
Mm.
your ass was late, but you made an impact.
Sorry.
The one thing about Sherman is Sherman makes you think, because I'm remembering as a little kid
Uh-huh.
a comedy, and it was the only black people on TV. The guy's name was Kingfish.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
I
Yes.
remember Kingfish. And that's from Amos and
Man.
Andy.
You are
Amos and
really
Andy.
making people dig back to their memories. And Nicky, one of the things that I
Pig
said
Meat
before
Markham,
about
all those guys,
the
yeah.
black comedians
Mm.
using their own experience,
Mm.
Richard Pryor ended up making a very nice album off of setting himself on fire when he was
Yes.
high smoking
Yeah.
or whatever that was.
was that live on the Sunset Strip?
That's
Yep.
exactly
That's
right.
it.
He was like,
That's
he's
it.
like, what's this? What's this? Richard Pryor running on the bus.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Hilarious. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Just
Wow.
now that you put me on Front Street. I apologize, but I'm in this film with the Lost Boys, the rap group, and I had to practice and I got caught up. So, but I
It's
still
all
made
good.
it.
It's
Yeah.
all good, man. I appreciate it
Okay.
because, like I said, you did extra credit and then you came in and made an impact, man. So that's how it rolls. Hey, look here. I appreciate everybody being on the show. This is a great show. I'll send you a link. It'll probably be up on all of our social media platforms and Black Men in America within the next 48 hours, if not sooner. Everybody, thank you for such a great show. I'm Gary Johnson, the proprietor of Club Calculations, and we had our comedy special tonight. I appreciate everybody. And for the Thought Brothers and Nicky and Sherwin XL, thank you and have a
Good
good
night.
evening.
Good night.
Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Would you please welcome Mr. Foster Brooks? Thank you very much. As the Puerto Rican gentleman just told you, I have never met Don Rickles. In fact, he's probably wondering what I'm doing here. He has never even seen. He has never seen me before. He has never heard of me, and our paths have never crossed. However, Mr. Rickles, you and I do have an indirect relationship. You see, I'm fooling around with your wife. So you see, we do have something in common. I hope you understand, Don, that we have tried to keep this very, very discreet. So don't tell anybody, will you? My wife would be furious if she found out about it. Don, I really must compliment you on your spouse, Mrs. Pickles. I say that because she's a real dilly. And I must also admit you have a very lovely home. Incidentally, you're out of scotch.
He got his suit back just in time. And no matter what happens in his life, he gets absolutely no respect. Would you welcome Rodney Dangerfield?
What a crowd, what a crowd. I'll tell you that. Thank you very much. They're all right, I knew that, you know. And you know me, I love crowds. I mean, when I was a kid, my house was always crowded, always people around. You know, I come from a big old-fashioned, hard-working, stupid family. That's where I come from. What a dumb family I got. Are you kidding? I looked up my family tree. I found out I'm the sap. My old man, he was dumb too, my old man. He worked in a bank. They caught him stealing pens.
I'm serious, man. Talking about what they say they don't have no death penalty because they can't find nobody to pull the switch. Shit. I'll pull that motherfucker. I wouldn't even take no lunch hour. Gotta go. Scoot your big ass over. Come on. 2 at a time. Get in. 2 at a time. Get on. Scoot over. No. Back. I like to check out people where they walk, you know. Especially women. You can tell women walk, huh? You can tell when it's good to when a woman got good stuff, can't you? Where they walk, can't you? Oh, honey, it's so good. It just tickles me when I walk. And when it's bad, they walk crazy too. Damn, it ain't no good. I can't even give it away. Don't nobody want it. Hell, I don't even want it. Unemployment women, you can tell when a woman's unemployed, can't you? I sure wish I could meet somebody to help me with these kids. You don't know, if I could just meet a mailman, somebody help me, because I need help with these kids. Somebody with some benefits, child. You know, I just need some. Now, a woman, now a woman that got a job walk, you know, with security, am I right or wrong? You know what I'm saying? You know, they walk in the nightclub going, honey, I don't give a fuck if I don't meet nobody nowhere. Because I'm going to the credit union tomorrow. I don't need nobody to tell me shit. I buy my own damn shit. That's right. And that's the kind I want to meet. And I had bad luck with women. Y'all don't know. Oh, man. You don't know. You don't know. I can tell. I don't talk to no pretty woman no more. No. Hard to get along with. Yeah, hard to get along with. You know, pretty woman, hard to get along with. Ugly woman easy, you know, they don't want no trouble, you know? I'm serious. Ugly women don't want no trouble to eat, you know what I'm saying? They do anything, cook all night for you. You can tell them anything, too, ugly one, can't you? Hey, bitch, I'm going to the moon. That's right, I said I'm going to the moon. I'll be back in a couple of days. Well, you be careful. You know I don't want nothing happen to you, baby.